Day one of NFL free agency is underway. And although the Cleveland Browns have not made an acquisition yet, an acquisition made by somebody else may have just told us who the Cleveland Browns are going to select at number 2 overall. We'll talk about it. Browns 3D starts now. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. Browns 3D on the OBR is brought to you by State Sharpening, Mower Sales and Service. Obviously, right in the middle of it now, noon kickoff today. Thanks, Elon. One of the most important days of the calendar, as far as Twitter is concerned. Nothing but issues over there. But once it did get right, obviously things were been grooving since. I can't believe I was literally on Facebook today checking Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport's pages. That's oof. For a guy that's trying to revolutionize the world, he definitely took us back about a decade or so there, my friend. A lot of positive reviews over the last couple of days, a lot of positive reviews, and a lot of people came out yesterday in droves to read all the written content due to the Myles Garrett extension. We sat down with Pete yesterday, did a great episode. A lot of great reviews came from that as well. A lot of positives. Appreciate everybody. I know everybody's excited. I know everybody's getting a little bit nervous. The Browns haven't done anything yet. Look, from what's come off the free agent board to this point, I don't think there's anything that I am too alarmed at or I'm too nervous about for the Cleveland Browns. A lot of interior offensive linemen getting paid. Big trade just went down just now. Houston Texans gave up Laremy Tunsil for a 2 and a 3 this year, and I think a 2 and a 3 next year. Get a lot of cap relief. You'll see how that works out for Houston. It's kind of a bold move for the Houston Texans because it's not necessarily the class to go out and find a left tackle. But now what? Got probably about 5 picks or so in the top 100 for Houston. Should be a really good situation for them. And Laremy Tunsil's been a good player and just now moves on again. Goes to the Washington Commanders. Certainly something that will be needed. Protecting Jaden Daniels, and I've told you about this from the Commanders' standpoint. Go ahead, draft that running back and let that offense just explode. Now, getting back to, basically, what I think is probably your Browns' biggest topic, what I've taken from this day so far where the Browns have not made a move. 2 years ago in the first round, the Tennessee Titans took Peter Skoronski, offensive lineman. 1 year ago in the NFL draft, the Tennessee Titans took J.C. Latham. Today, they just signed offensive tackle Dan Moore from the Pittsburgh Steelers. $50 million guaranteed, $80 million possible the deal could hit. Gave up 12 sacks last year. Really interesting that this guy climbed and was getting a lot of buzz as free agency was about to start, and actually got $50 million guaranteed after a season which he gave up 12 sacks. If that tells me anything, what it tells me about the Tennessee Titans is that all these rumors about them maybe trading down, all these rumors about them maybe having interest in Abdul Carter, all this interest in them maybe having interest in Travis Hunter. That tells me one thing and one thing only. You were setting up your offensive line to go out and draft the rookie quarterback. We talk about all the time in the NFL the mistakes that are made around teams with young quarterbacks. A, not having the skill talent around him to succeed. B, not having a good offensive line around him so he's not, playing at a faster speed than he's comfortable with. Changing schemes, changing coaches, all of these things. Well, Titans, this screams to me, it's quarterback at 1. And if it's quarterback at 1, it is Cam Ward. Now, what does that mean to me, the Cleveland Browns at number 2? I know there's a big faction of you out there who absolutely are infatuated with Shedeur Sanders. And look, I've said it a million times, I really like Shedeur Sanders. I like the ball coming out of his hand stylistically. I get Drew Brees vibes. However, I am 99.9% convinced there is no way in the world the Cleveland Browns would consider drafting Shedeur Sanders at number 2 overall. It is just not going to happen. So a guy that I have really thought has been in high contention for the Cleveland Browns this entire time to be their pick at number 2, this may just come to fruition. And that guy is Abdul Carter from Penn State. The key date for Abdul Carter is going to be March 28th. That is his pro day. Now, We all know there was, the medical stuff out in Indianapolis, stress in the foot, and look, we're getting to the point now, I think where injuries are so in detail. I know I'm not the only one that's basically going to Google sometimes and going, all right, I need this explained to me a little further. But Carter's pro day is March 28th out in Happy Valley. All signs are he is able to participate. Now, he will have a combine recheck. The combine rechecks are usually done about 2 weeks before the draft. So I'm not sure if, Abdul Carter, and look, represented by Drew Rosenhaus, so it's not like he's got a green agent who doesn't know the game. And, I've said I wouldn't be surprised if he does not work out. But if he does not work out, I want it to be because of his own validity, that they just feel he doesn't need to, a la Marvin Harrison Jr. last year. I don't want it to be because we still maybe have this medical gray cloud that we don't certainly have the answers to. But I think Cam Ward, as of what I think the Tennessee Titans told us today, through the move of signing Dan Moore, which means Latham's going to go back to the right side where he should be. Bill Callahan down there, I think, said, look, we're not doing this again. I am not going to be part of this again. And trying to take a kid and basically mess up his confidence, and then all of a sudden he's just not the player because we're trying to play him out of position. J.C. Latham will go to the right tackle position. Dan Moore's going to start at left. Skoronski's a guard. The Tennessee Titans offensive line was bad, but at least you're putting the offensive line together in much better shape for when you select Cam Ward. He comes in, whether he starts right away or it's a veteran in front of him. Hopefully that is something the Tennessee Titans think is going to put Cam Ward in the best possible position to succeed. The Abdul Carter thing, and, we had talked about this, and then all the Myles stuff about, possibly getting traded, this, that, and the other thing. Then we get to yesterday, and we get the word that Myles has extended his time with the Cleveland Browns. He's under contract to the age of 35, 2030. Now, I think one of the things that's kind of still most interesting about that is I think there were a lot of people, and it was spoken about a lot, early in Myles' career, is that Myles was such a vastly different guy, had a lot of interest. His life just wasn't ball. So there were a lot of people that thought, hey, wouldn't be surprised if Myles Garrett, it was a 7-8 year career. And then, he just got the itch to just go do other stuff because he's just a multifaceted young man. But to now know that his contract's going to take him here through age 35, good chance, we're going to end this career probably knocking on the door of 200 career sacks. But the allure of there's not many Myles Garretts in this world. You just don't get these athletic freaks. You just don't see them. And for all intents and purposes, this is exactly what Abdul Carter is supposed to test like. He's not necessarily as big as Myles. He may be faster, could be a tad bit more athletic. And of course, we're talking about when Myles came out of A&M. It's just to look at it and think about it and visualize edge rush play with Carter and with Myles Garrett. And you can do so many other things. We know Mike Hall, when he gets healthy, can rush from the inside. We could put Alex Wright on the inside. Isaiah McGuire can go on the outside. Myles can go on the inside. D-line versatility, pass rush versatility, mixing up your looks. It is such a huge thing and a huge bonus in the NFL when you can vary up your personnel, you can vary up your looks, you can vary up your individual talent on the field and still succeed in the pass rush game. You take a lot from the Super Bowl. You always look at the playoffs and kind of get the trend of what succeeds in the NFL and what does not. Pass rush. Pass rush is always king in the NFL. And I just don't feel Sanders is worthy of the number 2 selection. There is nobody, in my opinion, that is worthy of going that high in this class. It is a good class. It's just not necessarily star-laden for the Browns. And if this looks like it's going to come to fruition the way I think it is, come that night, that Thursday night in April, you will hear that Cam Ward has been drafted by the Tennessee Titans. You will hear that the Cleveland Browns are on the clock, and then you will hear that the selection is Abdul Carter, defensive end, Penn State University. and I cannot wait. We are going to talk about some of the action that has gone on thus far in the NFL, not just necessarily for your still stagnant Cleveland Browns. Browns 3D rolls on. We've been really happy and having them around and thankful for the sponsorship from the great folks at State Sharpening Mower Sales and Service in Barnview Heights. If you are local to the Cleveland area, they are your one-stop shop for all things lawn equipment. Listen, you want to spend your Sundays watching the Browns, not cutting your grass. Let the guys at State help you get your weekend back. They specialize in both residential and commercial power equipment for Toro, the brand professionals have counted on for more than 100 years. Whether you're looking for a new, dependable time cutter zero turn, genuine Toro replacement parts, or expert service from experienced technicians who keep your mower in peak condition, State has got your back. They are veteran owned. The Kane family are lifetime Clevelanders. They are lifetime Browns fans and big supporters of us here over at the OBR. Again, if you are local to Cleveland, State Sharpening, Mower Sales and Service in Broadview Heights is your hometown team for all your lawn equipment needs. All their info is at statesharp.com. That is STATESHARP.com. Again, appreciate everybody. It's been a great couple days here for all of us here over at the OBR. The news yesterday of Myles Garrett's extension. Look, we kind of told y'all, and eventually we got there. I am monitoring. I have the OBR Slack channel on. The boys will be giving me any updates, Cleveland Browns-wise, if they're there to be had. Actually, Pete Smith is giving us every update that is going on in the NFL right now. Look, I know some of your Browns fans are nervous, and I kind of get it, all right? Everybody wants to get that first one under your belt, right? Remember a couple years ago, and I referenced this on yesterday's show, we sat around all day on day one, and the only thing we had to show for it was Taven Bryant. It was not a good day. It was not a good day at all. But here we sit now. And to this point, you look at the quarterback position. Certainly, the Browns highly in need. The Falcons and Kirk Cousins, look, if they want to wait till next Monday for this and make a decision by then, I guess, does that mean the Browns are just going to, sit around and wait for the Falcons to come to their senses and realize they're not going to pay Kirk Cousins this money? If that is what they want to do, that's fine. But it does not stop the Browns from maybe talking to a Daniel Jones, talking to some other quarterbacks. To this point, what do we know at the quarterback position? We know that Sam Darnold has signed with the Seattle Seahawks. 3-year deal, neighborhood of $110 million, $55 million of that guaranteed. You want a context of that deal for Sam Darnold? Basically, 1 year later from Baker Mayfield, he got basically what Baker Mayfield got last year. Figure five, it was $10 million more on the contract overall, $5 million more in guaranteed. But look at the situation for Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is going to the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks have already moved on from Lockett. Yesterday, they traded DK Metcalf away. You have JSN, great young wide receiver out of Ohio State. You guys all know him well. Their offensive line is terrible. This second-round pick, certainly that you get back from Pittsburgh in exchange for DK Metcalf, gives you an opportunity to work on this line. They also possess a first-round pick. We all did kind of believe that when the Geno Smith news broke on Friday, you kind of had an idea that Seattle kind of had to know what was coming next. They weren't really just going to, just evaporate and, the quarterback room like they did without having a strong inclination of what was going to come next for them. Clint Kubiak spent time with Sam Darnold in San Francisco. There's your connection. Sam goes out to the Pacific Northwest. It's going to be rough. The offensive line is not good. It's just not good. Sam is going to, and look, Sam Darnold's probably less mobile than Geno Smith. Look, Geno found a way to make it work. But you go back to week 17. Week 18. You go back to the playoff game. You saw the way Sam Darnold was having issues when people just kept coming and coming and coming and just did not stop coming. Well, now he's going to be on a team where it does not have the offensive line to maybe combat that. So good for Sam Darnold. He's going to pocket $55 million. But as much as everybody was, riding the high horse of Sam Darnold, through this 2024 season, I'm not sure that the conversations about Sam Darnold in 2025 are going to be on the same level. I just don't see Seattle going right back to where they were. This could be a case where Seattle's going to take a step down for a little bit, a year or two, build themselves back up. And, Pete talked in great length about this yesterday. Seattle made that Russell Wilson trade and had all these assets in the world. And here they are 2 years later, basically almost tearing it down. But then, crazy enough, dropping $55 million guaranteed on a quarterback who you really only have 1 year of proven production. Justin Fields, certainly another name that, Browns fans were interested in, whether it was particularly for the Cleveland Browns or if it was maybe more so because he was obviously a Buckeye. It was a name that I thought about too. And, yeah, I think the thing with a guy like Justin Fields, I think we all look and we know what we saw at Ohio State. And I think what we saw at Ohio State was, in my opinion, was a guy who was a really good quarterback, was a really good athlete. It seems his time in the NFL, nobody's really given him the opportunity to be that. They like to have him do all the athletic stuff, but they don't necessarily have him do the pure, true, traditional quarterback stuff. And I think it's kind of been a disservice. And I thought he was looking pretty good last year in Pittsburgh. He was sitting there at 4-2. And, that was when they pulled the plug. Russ was ready to go. And then they just tried to gimmick, with Justin Fields from there on out. There were talks from Pittsburgh, maybe they still had interest in Russell Wilson. Then the talk really started picking up that they have some interest in Aaron Rodgers. And there were the New York Jets, who basically, and how ironic could this be, is that Justin Fields could be your starting quarterback for the New York Jets next year, while Aaron Rodgers could be your starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers next year. The NFL is a crazy, weird league sometimes. So Justin Fields, his agent, gets on a deal. David Mulligetta, one of the absolute best in the business, gets on the phone with the Jets. He's got a 2-year, $40 million offer, $30 million guaranteed. And if I'm Justin Fields, you pulled me last year. I was 4-2. You talked about maybe putting me in to help out or, save the season down the end, win a playoff game down the end, and didn't do it. Oh, maybe we want Justin Fields back. Or maybe we want Aaron Rodgers. Or maybe we want – I don't blame Justin Fields one iota. You had something out there for yourself. And $30 million guaranteed is a great payday for this young man. So I think Justin Fields did what was best for Justin Fields. And look, the Pittsburgh Steelers are sitting here in this weird situation right now. You made the move for Metcalf. Metcalf and Pickens is about as a combustible situation as possibly could be out there. And then maybe you're bringing in Aaron Rodgers to be the quarterback of this trio, and that just adds to the combustibility factor for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It could be a great thing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It could be a good thing for 7 weeks. It's going to blow up at some point. My biggest question and what I think about the way the Steelers are wired right now, and if they do bring in Aaron Rodgers, is are they really keeping Pickens around? He's probably not going to get the amount of balls he did last year. He's not going to put up the production. Therefore, he's not going to be happy about where he's headed towards free agency. If I was the Pittsburgh Steelers, I probably would be looking to move on from Carl Pickens at this point in time. I just don't see a situation this entire thing works out for them as of right now. Now, look, we talked the Browns, obviously some interest in the running back position. And here's one thing that's probably changed as far as I've heard over the last 12 hours is this Nick Chubb thing in the Browns doesn't seem to be as dead as some people are trying to tell you it is. And sadly, it's coming kind of from the same people who told you originally that it was maybe going to be over between Nick and the Cleveland Browns. What we're hearing over the OBR is not necessarily the case. What we are hearing is they're still very interested in improving the tight end room somehow, some way. Some tight end moves were made today. Nothing was major. Number 2, number 3 tight ends. Harbor going to San Francisco on a 3-year, $20 million deal. He had 12 receptions last year. And a lot of money flying out the door right now in the NFL. The interior offensive line group getting paid and paid well. Certainly, Browns are not in the market for a veteran guard. We thought there could maybe be some interest from the Cleveland Browns in a veteran center, but maybe that is not top center. Maybe it's lower tier center. Heck, who knows? Maybe they re-sign a guy like Nick Harris. You thought there was maybe going to be the opportunity there for them to improve the position a little bit. But, maybe if the thought process maybe to truly run back this offensive line in 2025, you kind of have to believe what they're saying at this point. Sorry. A lot of talking here today. Yesterday, voice is getting kind of dry. The wide receiver market, and you've seen Dami Brown go for 10 million, Tutu Atwell. Obviously you had the news last night. Certainly Metcalf, Devontae Adams, Trey Palmer today goes for 36 million to the Buffalo Bills. Again, not guys that I've necessarily had any interest in bringing in here to the Cleveland Browns. One name that's still, and this is what happens sometimes when a team gets connected with a player. Some people forever try to bring that fire back to life, And the Brandon Ayuk thing, I'll be honest, I don't know the legitimacy of it. Our folks here at the OBR have reached out and just kind of said, in response we got was, maybe it's something, maybe it's nothing, which means they don't know anything either. The people at least are reaching out to us. So you wonder if it's a case where this is a guy that the Browns were connected to, obviously months ago, and would they still be connected to them now? Got the contract, has the ACL injury, and I got to pay. So, I don't like the premise of that anyway whatsoever. What am I giving up? I got to take on the contract, and I'm dealing with a guy who's coming off of an ACL injury. And before he came off the ACL injury, he was just, honestly, this guy was kind of being a pain in the butt out there in San Francisco. So, again, not something I'm interested in. Defensive line, some guys went. Poona Ford went. Milton Williams, who's a guy I've talked about a lot, certainly, and liked the possibility of him. But when we first brought up Milton Williams, then all of a sudden the Eagles went on that magnificent run into the playoffs, win the Super Bowl, And Milton Williams, it originally looked like he was going to go to the Carolina Panthers. Don't know what happened there. Maybe the agent took that final phone call from the New England Patriots. And Mike Vrabel has got New England spending some money. Look, I don't know how good they're going to be. They're going to be old. I don't necessarily know how good they're going to be. But Milton Williams gets a deal with $63 million guaranteed to go to New England and play for Coach Mike Vrabel. Interesting move. Good player that I've talked about. But the thing is, Milton Williams in his career has never played more than 48% of the snaps. What you're paying him now, you're talking about a guy, 65%, 70, 75% of the snap count is what's going to be expected when you're making a payday like this. And the other thing is you're not playing on that Eagle D line with Josh Sweat, who just got a bag from Arizona. I think it was 4 years, 76, something like that, to go play for his old defensive coordinator out in Arizona. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith. You ain't got all those guys up in New England. So, Milton Williams went to a great part of the Philadelphia Eagles defense to where now he is going to have to be a star of the New England Patriots defense when you were walking in there with a $63 million guaranteed in the bank. So a guy that I certainly was interested in, but the price certainly was not something the Browns were going to play with. It's been an interesting linebacker market. And, I love when you get some, big media, whatever, try to defend it. And, well, it's the linebacker. He's the quarterback of your defense. We've had these conversations for years. And, anybody who's, listened to the amount of shows that Pete Smith and I have done for the years, look, base D 1st and 10, get it to 2nd and 8, get the linebackers off the field, get the fat guys off the field, get the pass rushers on the field, and get the defensive backs on the field. Some of these linebackers, $40 million deals, $30 million guaranteed, $25 million guaranteed. It's just not something I see, because it's just not a way for me that defensive football is really played in 2025. So certainly one that I just can't kind of really wrap my head around necessarily. So look, you guys want to sign your Mike linebackers to all that money? That's great, because I'd rather have my Mike linebacker once it's 2nd down standing next to the defensive coach. Just the way I go. Again, it's been mostly, Nate Hobbs, Green Bay Packers, they finally got on the board. 4 years, $48 million. Like I said, Laramie Tunsil, it was 4 picks in that deal, which was a large amount of draft capital. Houston probably well played for them. They're going to get a lot of financial relief. And now that you're kind of established and you're in here, year 2 going into year 3, you're starting to find, some guys that were working for you, maybe not working out some more anymore, or now you can kind of pour some new things into the system as you adapt and you learn more about yourselves. But, Houston, 2 straight years to the playoffs, move on from a really, really good football player today, but get themselves some financial relief and also get themselves some future capital things, all things that certainly should help. And the financial thing could work out, because we're going to be to the end of the year 3, certainly, where you're going to be talking about picking up CJ Stroud's 5th-year option. And then, of course, getting to the point where you might be talking extension with the big-time signal caller for the Houston Texans. Now, we're still here, and look, after 5 o'clock at the time of this recording, Browns are not on the book yet for anything. I'm not nervous. I'm not that concerned yet. It's still about, the Cousins watch, the Daniel Jones watch, the Carson. Carson Wentz seems to be a popular name too. Just gonna see the way it plays. The one thing I will tell you is we've been told here, and I'm sure the OBR subscribers have seen it, is the Kirk Cousins thing is about as real as it can get. The Cleveland Browns would absolutely want to do that. And it's, not to say it is a huge scoop. Certainly the relationship, of course, between Kurt and Kevin Stefanski is something that would drive something like this. But I don't think it's ever changed for the Browns. For the Browns, the plan has been, veteran, rookie in some way, shape, or form. One thing that nobody's talking about, and remember, there were a couple of quarterbacks I gave you a couple of weeks ago. 2 quarterbacks, one from the Eagles, one from the Patriots, certainly could be something the Browns could address in trying to bring a quarterback in, trading for said quarterback. There's a lot more ways to skin a cat, and this was never going to be about one quarterback for the Browns here in 2025. It was going to be about a mass of quarterbacks here in 2025. Basically, kind of what we opened up with here is, the Titans moves dictating to me that I do believe Abdul Carter, 6 weeks out, in my opinion, is probably going to be the guy at 2 for the Browns. Then certainly we're going to talk about rookie quarterbacks for the Cleveland Browns from that point there. Certainly, and I'm not saying it's going to be the guy, but Jalen Milroe certainly brings something that you just can't take your eyes off of. Overall, incredibly gifted athlete. You can see just from the Senior Bowl to the Combine, the work that he has been putting in, some of the difference that he's trying to make in his technique, trying to get for, obviously drive for much better accuracy. The arm strength is there. The wow factor is there with a guy like Jalen Milroe. Certainly doesn't hurt. Has a relationship with the Cleveland Browns offensive coordinator. And I think one of the things that, and you hear a lot of people talk about this in regards to Jalen Milroe is sometimes when guys need work, when guys need some polish, you get nervous because guys get too stubborn to put in the work, or they're too proud to accept the fact that they may have some flaws and just believe they don't actually have those flaws. The people who are critiquing them incorrectly. The thing with you hear with a guy like Jalen Milroe is he is just a relentless work ethic guy. So if a guy needs some work, that's the biggest key, is the guy willing to put in the work to improve himself. And there's not anybody you hear speak about Jalen Milroe and not speak to him in such a positive light to make you think that he needs some work, that he certainly will be able to achieve it. I'm going to do one more quick check here. Last we got defensive tackle Bobby Brown, formerly of the Rams, goes to the Carolina Panthers on a 3-year deal. His gig was taken with the Rams by Poona Ford, a little draft darling for all of us Browns folks here back in the day. Was a guy we all really, really liked back in the day. Not much. Some safeties come off the board. My guy has been Andre Sisco, Jacksonville Jaguars, formerly of Syracuse University. Everything comes to Syracuse this year, right? Still the guy I'm looking for. So we'll see if that's something the Browns can get into. DeAnthony Bell will be an interesting name to follow come the new league year on Wednesday. $3.3 million off tender on the table. due to the fact that he's excelled in special teams, due to the fact that he has played more on defense, I think D'Anthony Bell is going to probably end up remaining with the Cleveland Browns, which is a really great story. He got to the NFL at a later age as an undrafted free agent, started on specials, really worked his way up. And, for a guy who went that route, to think that there was a payday coming for about $3.3 million would have been like, me and you, basically going looking for the Loch Ness Monster. But great for D'Anthony Bell to be in the position that he is in. Day one thus far, NFL free agency. Browns not on the board yet, but the Tennessee Titans and a move they made probably dictated that the Cleveland Browns are going to be drafting Abdul Carter. Quincy Carrier will be here after me. We'll see you all again after 8 o'clock. Hopefully the Browns are on the board by then, but otherwise we can give some thoughts on day one of NFL free agency. Make sure you subscribed on YouTube. Make sure you are subscribed on Twitch, of course, at the OBR. Keep going over to the site on 247. Everybody's cranking out some solid content. Great time of the year. We'll all be around tomorrow. We'll all be around on Wednesday. Keep seeing where this party takes us. Of course, this has been Browns 3D on the OBR, brought to you by State Sharpening Mower Sales and Service. This has been your daily delivery of all things dog pound. Browns 3D on the OBR, and we will talk to you later.